Well, jumbo, my friends, and welcome to our Tanzania virtual vacation brought to you by our travel advisor partners. I got to say, you've definitely picked a good one this time, guys, because Tanzania is open to safaris and the whole process of accessing a place like Tanzania. It reminds me back in the day when I went on my first safari a few years ago now. I actually went to Tanzania, and I also went to neighboring Kenya. And at the time, there was a U.S. embargo, and the U.S. people weren't traveling on safari to East Africa. And what happened was there was nobody there. It was open, and I had such great access to wildlife. I saw a group of lionesses with the biggest batch of cubs I've ever seen. I mean, I was counting them, and we were arguing. I said it was about 24 cubs. It was the most amazing thing. We sat there for an extended period of time because there were no other vehicles around, and that's what's going to happen right now. Right now, Tanzania is open, and people are slow. The people are slow to kind of pick up on the idea that they could actually be going on a safari. And the beautiful thing about a safari is that when you're in a vehicle, like that vehicle you see there, it's 222. The vehicles here, our vehicles, will have a maximum of 6 people on board. So if you've got 3 couples that are thinking, why don't we go away together? And it could be family members, people who know each other. That way, when you're traveling together with friends, once you're on board, you don't need to wear masks. You'll have the vehicle to yourselves. The seats, there'll be a spare seat in the middle of every seat, and you can go out and take it. Now, the driver will wear a mask. The drivers will have gloves. They'll make sure that when they're handling luggage, they'll look after everything. And there'll be sanitizer on board the vehicle. I always recommend bringing a little bit of your own hand sanitizer anyway. But you'll find that the lodging or the accommodations, they'll be regularly cleaned. When you go out, they'll clean everything down. And so it's really going to make for and let's face it, you're going to wilderness locations that are in the middle of nowhere, that are pure and pristine. I mean, it's such a safe place to be. And you'll find that if you're wishing, if you'd like to upgrade and have your own vehicle, it's not a problem. We can actually organise that as well. So I welcome you to this presentation because I'm excited about the fact that you can actually look at planning Tanzania and Zanzibar. Of course, Zanzibar is a part of Tanzania, but I just love saying Zanzibar. There's a safari and spice and everything nice. So when we think about this destination, I mean, the name Tanzania just conjures up exotic images of game-rich land, and rightly so. I mean, the words Serengeti, you think of these amazing plains. Now, the reason why the Serengeti exists is because volcanic eruption spewed out volcanic ash. And it happened, they say, for hundreds of years. And layers of ash were strewn across what is now the Serengeti Plains. And this plain is a rich, fertile bed which grows incredible grasses. And, of course, when you've got incredible grasses, you've got incredible numbers of wildebeest. There's over 1.5 million wildebeest that parade across the Serengeti Plains. Of course, in hot pursuit is all sorts of carnivore tracking them down. So Serengeti, yes, that, think of National Geographic, you think of, the Great Migration. Then you think of Zanzibar. Zanzibar is this little coastal island encrusted in this beautiful sugary white sand beaches. The town of Stone Town that you see here looking down on, it looks like there's hardly any room for roads through that town. There's these narrow little laneways and cobblestone streets and markets, and it's just intense. At the same time, too, you can get away from Stone Town to these beautiful, lovely beach resorts where you can stretch out and relax after your safari experience. Then there's Ngorongoro Crater. The Ngorongoro Crater is the largest intact cauldron in the world. It's like a giant gladiator pit for wildlife. As a kid growing up in Australia, I used to get a terrarium and I'd put like little lizards in there. I'd create my little environment and catch little lizards and put them in there. Then I was a horrible little boy. I'd put all sorts of insects in there, and you watch the insects and the lizards go at each other. Oh, it's like a gladiator pit. Well, this is a gladiator pit for big animals. Yeah. And speaking of big, Mount Kilimanjaro, the rooftop of Africa. I mean, just the whole Kilimanjaro, just to say that and to see it is just intense. And to come and explore that, for those that wish to climb it, we can organise that for them too. And after that, of course, stretching out. That's the beautiful thing about this country. I mean, there's so much space. There's just a possibility to do all sorts of activities, from relaxing on a beautiful white sand beach to tracking the big five out there on the plains and of the savannah. I mean, it's quite an attractive destination for all sorts of people in terms of their levels of activity. You can go and climb 19,400 feet and climb Kilimanjaro. You can do it all. We could do it all. And in fact, I've done this myself. I took a group of 10 guys and we climbed Kilimanjaro. We went for a safari on the Serengeti, and then we went diving on Zanzibar. What a great trip that was. You can add in the mix. And one thing that's often overlooked and often over-delivers is the opportunity to meet the people. There's 130 tribes in Tanzania, and they live amicably side by side, and they provide such a wealth of opportunities to interact and to learn. I mean, it's a great family destination for that very reason. I mean, kids are like little sponges to go on a safari and to meet these people and to see how they exist and how they really are proud of their culture and they pass it on in song and dance. I mean, there's such a warmth and politeness to these people. It just is a dignity and beauty to Tanzanian culture that really must be experienced. I mean, inevitably, it'll be one of the highlights of any visit will be the people themselves. Now, when you look at the history of Tanzania, the actual the East African nation of Tanzania is just a baby, really, because it's only been Tanzania for the last 59 years. It was actually formed out of the union of the territory called Tanganyika, which is on this map here. You'll see the Tanganyikan territory, and that of Zanzibar, the archipelago group of islands called Zanzibar. And Tanganyika was actually a German colony in the 1880s to 1919. And then it became, after that, it became basically the British took it over. And they after war they basically became, and then they had it under their control. It was independent though in about 1961. So Tanzania served as a military outpost back in the World War II, and it provided financial help and munitions and soldiers. So it's got an interesting history. And the island of Zanzibar, that's got a history as a trading island, as an island where they used to actually the last place where they traded slaves, which just got quite a history there. And it's also the spice trade up the coastline of Africa. There was a lot of sandalwood and spices that were moved up and down the coastline, so it's a port that they would pull into. Yeah, quite fascinating. And the geography of Tanzania is quite incredible as well. I mean, it has this beautiful coastline that's about 883 miles long, and it sits actually locked in between Kenya to the north and Uganda, and then to the west you've got Rwanda, Burundi, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and then going south you've got southwest you've got Zambia, and then to the south you've got Mozambique. So it sits quite surrounded by some very attractive partnering destinations that also can be perhaps incorporated into a larger itinerary. The capital is Dodoma, right in the centre, but Dar es Salaam is by far the point at which you would access for direct flights. Accessing here, you can actually either go, some people fly into either Kenya, into Nairobi, and then from Nairobi you would fly across to Arusha, or there are direct flights into Dar es Salaam. So getting there, let's talk about that first. Well, American Airlines, as far as the American carriers rather, you'll find Delta is one partner we work closely with, and they do a marvelous job going via Europe. You can also go with South African Airlines going via via South Africa, of course. I was going to say Cape Town, it's not Cape Town, but basically by South Africa. Really, the best way to go at the moment is with Qatar. Now, Qatar really has got some great fares. New York to Dar es Salaam, $6.79. Los Angeles to Dar es Salaam, $9.79. Round trip in economy. Business class, that business class fare is really very good. Business class all the way, I'd be paying the money. And let me tell you, Qatar is just a great airline on board. Economy class, you'd expect nothing but the best. In business class, you've got the lie flat beds and you can relax and have a nice meal and enjoy the flight. Emirates also does a fabulous job, and I do enjoy with Emirates the fact that you're going via Dubai. Dubai can be a good little stopover. In fact, when I took that group of 10 guys and we climbed Kilimanjaro, we did an overnight stop in Dubai, and we actually went out and did some dune buggy riding, camel riding. We did had some fun just overnight. It helped get your land legs back, and then it's a direct flight straight down. So Emirates is a good way to go too. On board the craft, of course, the interactive video screens will give you a chance to watch all sorts of movies as well as play games. And if you're in business class where you'll stretch out, you'll have these lovely little pods that will give you a great, relaxing flight, fabulous meals. If you want to stretch your legs, you can walk into the bar area. And yeah, they've got a nice little bar. What a great aspect of flying. Here you are, sharing stories about your journey. You know, if you're lucky enough to be in business class, well, it just takes on a whole new level. In first class rather, a whole new level. This is just amazing. Yes, quite a happy camper there. So why visit Tanzania? Well, let's talk about some of the things. And some of the things that are really important. Let's talk about the whole game viewing aspect. And as I mentioned before, the beautiful thing about the game viewing, this is an example of a vehicle here. If there were the maximum people that vehicle can take is going to be 6. So your group size is organized pretty well quickly. And if you're doing a safari, which is a circuit-style safari, where you're moving from camp to camp, this becomes your vehicle. Your guide, of course, your driver guide, will have a mask and he'll have gloves. And you'll be well looked after, truly well looked after. The beautiful thing about the actual vehicles themselves, they're raised floor, and it's like you've got some invisible cloth over you. See, the lions don't even look like they care. They don't, because you're not on their menu. You're not part of the diet of the lion. So when you're out on safari, this sort of interaction, this sort of location to wildlife is very much a daily occurrence. And you'll get a chance to see the big 5. Now, this is my little version of the big 5. You like that? The little baby elephant, the little baby rhino, the buffalo, the leopard and the lion. And this is the beautiful thing about going on safari, is that if you're traveling at the right time, you'll get a chance to see babies. And it's the interaction that you'll see between mothers and their baby and their young. It's just truly fascinating. There's an incredible array of wildlife you'll see. And really, it is the perfect safari destination to be out on safari and having binoculars in hand and having, like, for example, the giraffe, which happens to be the national animal of Tanzania, the giraffe. And also to kind of, if you're interested at all in some of the history and some of those who have been before, like Dr. Jane Goodall, who had an enormous fascination with primates. In fact, the chimpanzee, she was one of the first to document chimpanzees using tools to actually, like this little stick here, using that tool to poke down to get termites and then licking them off. Yeah, and she has put together in the Gombe National Park this wonderful program where you can actually go out and, in a way, you're giving back. And that's another important part about the whole nature of safari, is you're going and staying in places which are giving back. And if you're interested in that style of vacation experience, and some of the accommodations too are very small in what they offer, so you can actually take over the entire lodging. Now, the indigenous peoples, as I mentioned, is truly an amazing part of the experience. And with over 130 different cultures, there's like 100 different dialects, and you'll find that the chance to mix these different ethnic groups is quite unique. The social structure, the culture. I mean, there's notable similarities between them, but there's also differences. And I got to say, the singing voices too. If you're going to places like Dar es Salaam and they love to sing, and you'll feel that when you're here. It's magic, absolutely magic. Then, of course, there's the history. Now, there's great history right throughout. No better place to actually experience that. There's in Zanzibar, where you'll actually delight in walking through Stone Town, past the markets. Oh my goodness, the markets, the smells, the pungent aroma of sweet, sticky tropical fruits, the heady smells of fish and poultry, and it's overwhelming. And you'll go through ruins and you'll see where the last slaves were kept, and just the inhumane circumstance, and how that, of course, is now forgotten. Well, it's not so much forgotten, it's a past. It's part of the past now, but we learn from the past. That's why it's important to kind of note history. And then, of course, another great reason is to actually take on this high altitude trekking. And we can help you out with that. We've actually had experienced quite a number of us actually have been to Kilimanjaro and have climbed that 19,341 feet above sea level. It's quite phenomenal. Yes, it takes, you need some time, but with that in mind, we will advise and give you the best direction based on your group. So no matter what you want to do, if you're from exerting yourself, you also can head out to some of the coastal areas. The islands of Zanzibar offer some great opportunities for beach lovers to enjoy themselves. So when should we go? Well, as far as for general game viewing, the best time for Tanzania, if you're interested in, they've got the popular northern circuit, which would take in the whole. And really that northern circuit, the main areas, the main dry season would be May to October. And then for those doing the southern part of Tanzania, then you would look to June to November. Now you'll learn a bit more about these areas when I kind of push through this presentation. As far as Zanzibar, it's warm and humid all year round. So the rainfall is mid-March to May, and November to January there's heavy showers. But typically those showers clear up. You'll have blue sky mornings, the clouds build up, and then a big deluge. It rains for like an hour and it's gone. As far as climbing Kili, well then January to March or September to October. So as far as the wildebeest migration, which is the great migration, it's wildebeest and zebra that get caught up in this migration. The Serengeti is between January and March, the lower part of the Serengeti. So, and that happens to be, it can kind of coincide with the climbing of Kilimanjaro, should you wish to do that as well. So we can kind of work out, there's nothing like being on the path of the Great Migration. I'll tell you a bit of a story, because looking at that picture now, I want you to think about this. Imagine there's no wildebeest there. And imagine you're standing with me on the top of a granite rocky outcrop, and you've climbed up on top of this outcrop because you want to get that beautiful view, because it just goes out for miles, and out of the distance you can see lightning strikes, you can see rain falling as the clouds move over the plains of the Serengeti, bringing nourishment, and you can nearly see the grass growing. And that's what these wildebeest are after. Now you're standing on top of this granite outcrop, and all of a sudden you hear the thunderous hooves of thousands of wildebeest as they run past your vehicles, which are parked at the bottom of that granite outcrop. And they're moving through a very small, narrow passage, and there's so many of them, they're bouncing and jumping, and they're bumping into the sides of the vehicle. You're out of the vehicle. You're with me on the rock looking at that scene you're looking at right now. And like water pushing through these rocks, flowing through these rocks, is this never-ending movement of wildebeest that kind of floods out. And what you're seeing there is the photograph taken at the end of about 45 minutes. And they just flooded out and filled the plains and started munching away. It was amazing. And we walked back down to our vehicles and climbed aboard, and we headed off. Yes, to get that experience, you're going to require some documentation. You will need a passport with 6-month validity and at least 2 blank pages, and you'll need to get yourself you'll need to get a visa. Now, you can purchase this prior to going, and I'm kind of a bit of a fan. You can buy these online, I believe now, but when you're working with us, we'll advise you can also get them on entry. The big thing you're going to need to tell your clients is they're going to have to get a COVID negative certificate. Now, to get the certificate, they're going to have a test. To get the test, that needs to be organized within 72 hours of arriving. So we can help and assist you with that. If you've got people right now that are interested in going, let us know, because we'll put together and we'll work out, we'll do some research with you. We'll make sure that you've got a place locally that will get you the opportunity to get that test done. You also want to think about where else they might be traveling. If they are going to any places where there is yellow fever, then they will require some vaccination. But if they're not, they're fine. Malaria, recommended. Okay, now when we recommend, it's really at the end of the day up to your client whether they get the actual, they take the malaria medications. I would always recommend your clients goes and sees a local doctor, a travel doctor, somebody can give them good advice. I can give them a good advice on what to wear because I'm a little bit of a fashionista when it comes to the old safari. I love getting my safari gear out. Nothing better, nothing more exciting than going and doing a bit of shopping, is there, eh? Going and buying yourself these new shirts you can get. They've got wiki fiber, that draws away moisture, and they kind of breathe really well. And you get these pants, these trousers you see there, where you can zip off the lower part, so you can turn them into shorts. You'll need to get yourself some good boots that give you like sturdy support of your ankles. You'll need a hat that you can actually put on that kind of gives you good shade, keeps your face shade because the sun can be pretty dramatic there. So you want a little hat. Those hats, that one on the left-hand side, it's a tilly. And the tilly hat, there was an elephant that ate the tilly hat. And the person who lost their hat was very disappointed. Then in the mail one day, they got it sent back. And they think, what happened? Well, the elephant eventually, it came out the other end and they gave it a bit of wash and it was beautiful. So, yeah, those tilly hats are pretty good. As far as cameras, big tip for camera. Make sure you take 3 batteries for your camera. And go and number them. Put a number on them. Number 1, number 2, number 3. The reason why, because you want to make it easy for yourself. And you use them in order. You put the number 1 battery is in the camera. Number 2 battery is on the charger. Number 3 battery is already charged up. And so you just keep rotating them. So you remember your numbers. And that way, every day when you come back into camp, take the one off the charger, that becomes your backup. Put the one that's charged up, put that in your camera. Put the one out of the camera, back in the charger. And you just rotate them. As far as packing, you want to get a soft-sided bag because you're either going to be using small plane or you're going to be going on a vehicle. And bags, when they're packed in a vehicle, they pack better when they're soft-sided and they won't do damage to other people's bags. So remember that, soft-sided bag. When you pack, do not overpack. I can organize a packing party. If you're organizing a group and you want help and guidance, I can be very harsh and I can tell you what to and what not to take. You will find you can launder your clothes. Doesn't matter how big. I mean, some of these little properties we're staying at, there might only be 5 tents. They can still launder the clothing for you. When you come back from a day of safari, there's your clothes all freshly folded on the end of your bed. You want to make sure that you've got binoculars. Now, a big tip here, get your own. If you're traveling with your partner, make sure you both have your own binoculars. Because if you happen to spot a leopard and you've got the binoculars in your hand, the last thing you want to do is share them. You just want to take that in. And it's all about watching. It's not about just saying, ticking boxes, say, oh, there, I've seen a leopard, I've seen a lion. No, it's about being there in the moment and enjoying it. You know what I'm saying? You've got to really enjoy it. So, yeah, as far as packing is concerned, make sure you don't overpack and make sure you have these accessories that are there for you to enjoy. Now, what are some of the places we'll visit? Where do we, what are we going to take in? Well, really some of the best regions to visit. The Serengeti National Park is in the northern part. We were talking about the southern part. This is the northern part. And it is an area which offers you the absolute classic African safari setting. The migration of millions of wildebeest and zebra, it starts here. And as I mentioned, those plains are the result of volcanic reaction, which kind of spewed out all this ash and created this rich, green, open plains. 5,700 square miles. And this wildlife's doing is it's seeking out the green shoots. It's kind of heading out. Now, this great migration is somewhat on a path. It can vary from season to season. So when you're working with us, we'll make sure we put you in a spot, because you want to be, you don't, oh, you should have been here yesterday. We had a great migration. No. We're going to put you in a spot where you get a chance to see the wildlife coming through. So when we customize your itinerary, we'll build it up. And as you can see here in this map, December, January, the Ngorongoro Conservation Area. February, March, they're in the very southern part of the Serengeti. And then they're April, May, June, they're going up through an area called the Serengeti region. And then they're heading up July, August, September, they're heading across into the Masai Mara. So you really want to make sure that you're here and to see this. And they call that Serengeti Plains. The Serengeti means almost treeless grasslands. And that western corridor I was talking about, going the middle of the year, they're heading up through this swampy savanna, also another great area to go and visit. And the northern sections, it gets these wonderful open woodlands and hills before they push out. And that's when you'll see the crossing into Kenya. Accommodation-wise, there's a whole array of camps. The Okarilla, Okarilla Mobile Camp. This is a wonderful tented safari camp, and as you can see, it's an ensuite. It is a mobile. So in other words, they actually break this one down, and they only put it up before the wildlife comes through. So I've been in a camp like this one here. When I woke in the morning, I could smell something. I think, what's that smell? And I looked outside, there was a whole herd of zebra had walked straight through the camp. There's also, going further north, you've got the Serengeti Migration Camp. Now, this migration camp puts you up close to the Serengeti region. So you're right on the river there, and you've got hippos and crocodiles. You'll come back and you'll have this lovely, the actual lodging is more permanent. As such, it's got its own swimming pool area, a delightful place to stay. Then you've got the Kirawira Serena Camp. Now, the Kirawira Serena Camp is a little decadent. This takes you back. We're on safari, darling. You've got the lovely timbered floors and the antiques, and it's like an old hunting camp, where now the only hunting done is for photographs. So the Kirawira Serena Camp, tents are actually on timbered floors and are well above. You've got your little writing desk. Can you see yourself there? Not a bad spot. Another top attraction, of course, is that lovely Ngorongoro Conservation Area. Now, this conservation area is phenomenal. This 2,000-foot deep crater is just 200 square miles. It's just phenomenal. And on the floor of that, you've got lions, you've got elephants, you've got buffaloes and flamingos and black rhino. There's something like 30,000 animals live in the crater. And right in the middle of all this theater of this gladiator pit, all of a sudden you'll have this Maasai farmer kind of trotting through with his cattle, completely oblivious to the wildlife around him. And another aspect of this region is the Olduvai Gorge. Olduvai is where early man was found, and you can actually wander through this camp and see the remnants of this excavation that the first man walked upright through this region. Now, staying at Ngorongoro, the Serena Safari Lodge is my favourite, only because of the structure itself. I love the stonework. It's been built to kind of be lost to the side of the top of that volcanic crater. So there you are, looking up, perched up here, overlooking this incredible crater. Inside your rooms, they've got lovely African art, and I just love the whole fixtures and the furnishings. You really feel every one of these properties has a different personality. Like, for example, the Mala Ngorongoro tented camp. Now, this tented camp is a lodging that really makes you feel like you're on safari. At the same time, it's well located for quick access to the crater floor. So you can be heading down to the crater floor. You can head out and do like a little escorted walk. Before everybody else is out of bed, you're up there, and then you'll head back, and perhaps during the day have a nice relax. And you've got those lovely areas you can gather with guests, and it's a great spot. Now, the Tanzania National Park is also a major draw. Now, look at that picture for a second. Does that look like that elephant's like a miniature elephant? No, it's not. These trees here, the Boab landscape through here is just phenomenal. And to kind of to drive through this region, to see these trees, they're monstrous, absolutely monstrous. And this region is one of the highest concentrations of wildlife, all sorts of wildlife. You've got fringed-eared oryx with these incredible saber-like horns. You've also got the spiral kudu, these wonderful horned antelope. And there's also an amazing array of bird life. You can head out on walking safaris to take in the wildlife, to take in the bird life, and with guides that have got great reputation to really deliver upon the promise of experiencing wildlife close at hand. Now, Oliver's Camp offers that too, because it overlooks the Salali swamp, and so you're right from where you're staying, you've got wildlife coming into the camp itself. So, a great spot to be sitting there. Imagine waking up for breakfast and seeing the sun rise and heading out on safari. Just delightful. And in the evening, retiring, you can see those at the very end there. You've got your bathroom at the end and an outside shower. That's kind of special. Another place to stay is the Treetops Lodge, and I love this accommodation. Up there on stilts, there's your bedroom, looking from the inside out. Imagine waking up in the morning, and overnight elephants are kind of tiptoed into camp. So when you step outside, you've got all these elephants below. And of course, the conversations around the dinner table in the evening are always memorable. Now, Lake Manyara National Park. Now, this lake itself has 11 ecosystems in this one area. This vast, varied wildlife. I mean, when I was here, I was just blown away. There's actually a rainforest area. When you come from your accommodations and you go down to the lake itself, you actually pass through rainforest. You'll see incredible zebra and wildebeest and giraffe. There's actually a spot where you've got to keep your eyes open above. Yes, tree climbing lions. Hello, you thought it was safe. Yes, it is. Well, let me tell you, they're not really interested in you anyway. But and your accommodations, you'll be also in a lofty location. You'll be up overlooking them, staying at Lake Manyara Serena Safari Lodge. Now, they've built the accommodations in the shape of weaver bird nests. So this is just delightful. The view up here, the swimming pool, the horizon pool, and that's the lake off in the distance. When you go down from here, that's when you go through the rainforest. I mean, the rainforest is created by a spring. It's an eternal spring that just keeps pushing out wonderful fresh water, and it's created this beautiful rainforest location. But your accommodation, like I said, all this high vaulted ceilings, weaver bird nests, even the lampshades like weaver bird nests, and your dining areas and your accommodations, it's just fabulous. Now, Gombe Stream National Park, this is another great spot. This is where you'll be able to step in the footsteps of Jane Goodall and take in this region. I've got to say that the whole nature of coming through here, that connection to Jane and her pioneering research with chimpanzees, is just legendary. And you can go trekking through here, and there's all sorts of different primates that you'll get a chance to spot as well. And there's actually, this whole Gombe is like a living laboratory, and it's one of the most studied group of wild chimpanzees. So you really get up close to them as well when you're here trekking, and it's just observing. Of course, that's what I like. What you're doing here is you're actually giving money back to more research, and it goes back into training scientists and supporting conservation. And so places like the Gombe Forest Lodge, which it puts you in this lush shade of this ancient forest on the shores of Lake Tanganyika, and you're kind of tucked amongst the forest. You've got this beautiful lakeside view. So and there's your little accommodation. Step up the steps, and inside your little writing desk and your timbered floors, and that's just beautiful. Now, St. Louis, this is the southern part. We're talking about the southern part. St. Louis Game Reserve. It's bigger than Switzerland. It's the largest African game reserve. It's a World Heritage Site. It's never crowded, and they've got an amazing array of elephants and cheetahs and black rhino, and there's plenty of hippo and crocs as well. So you'll get a chance to see all sorts. And of course, the superstar occupants in this region are wild dogs. Now, wild dogs are like they're equipped with these inbuilt antennas, and they're on these as if they're all able to talk to each other. And to watch them hunting, they're the most successful hunters. When they have lock sight on some prey, they will run them into the ground. And it's kind of, if you're ever part of that experience, it doesn't sound like it's fun for the prey, but I mean it's a part of nature. So, to experience that's a lot of fun. It also offers other ways in which you can go safari. You can safari by boat. You can safari by walking. Yes, there's some amazing opportunities with over 70,000 elephants, 120,000 buffaloes, 40,000 hippos, 4,000 lions. You have got an opportunity to see so much, and you access this via Dar es Salaam or via Kilimanjaro Airport. So it's often overlooked, but for people who've been to and Tanzania before and have done the northern circuit, this should be a major consideration. Accommodation-wise, you've got the Fleur Serena camp, and look at that lovely camp. Look at the tented camp. It just looks quite regal, and the areas where you gather, and big leather lounges and cocktails and nice pool area. Can you see yourself there after a day of safari? Well, after that whole safari experience, relaxation is probably high on the agenda. Fly into Dar es Salaam, and then from Dar es Salaam we fly across to Zanzibar. And yes, this exotic Zanzibar. The archipelago itself, it consists of about 50 islands, and they range from tiny outcrops to more populated islands. But you've got Uvunga Island and Pemba Island. But Zanzibar is quite a mix. And the beaches here are stunning, absolutely powdery white sandy beaches and shaded palms, and the seas are quite shallow, so you can kind of head out very safe and sparkling. When you push out a little further, though, there's coral reefs, and that provide great spots to go snorkeling and diving. I had a turtle when I went diving that just chased me around, just wanted to be my buddy for the dive. And then you've got Stone Town, and this Stone Town itself is this is Swahili trading town. This whole urban area is just a melting pot of culture. You've got African, Arabian, Indian, European. It's just a wonderful eclectic mix. You've got all these two-story houses, and these little narrow rooms and corridors and courtyards, and on these little pathways that kind of, cobblestone streets and markets. And you've got these beautiful large seafront mansions that you can stay in, and it's just a wonderful eclectic mix of experiences. You can stay at a place like Zanzibar Serena Hotel, which is one of those old mansions that's just been reclaimed and made this beautiful hotel. And even the accommodation, the service staff, you really feel like you're somewhere else. You've got this Arabian sort of kind of culture. Then, of course, you can go and stay at a beach resort. So you can spend perhaps a night there and go and stay at a beach resort, and still have that lovely Arabian experience. That the menu will kind of have flavors from exotic locations, and at the same time the pool and the bar area, you better sit back, relax, great conversations. Now, if you didn't go to Tanzania to relax, but you went there to climb, I would love to be your guide. I can guide you on exactly what you need to do to prepare. I can help you in terms of your packing. I can help you prepare for this seemingly arduous experience, but it's all about preparation. 5 to 7 days to conquer. The more time you have, it's all about managing oxygen. When you get up into this rarefied air, to keep that smile, you've got to be well prepared. And a guided climb, in our particular case, our guide actually was, we had like 40 Sherpas, and there was only 10 of us. And our Sherpas, basically, they helped carry everything. You don't carry a big heavy pack. You carry a little day pack and some water maybe. And there's a number of routes you could take depending on how much time you wish to take. We did the Mashimi route. And at the end of every day, you'll have the tents all set up, so you're kind of cushy camping, I call it. You'll pull into camp. It's such a great experience to do with a group of buds. That's a mate of mine, Johnny, and it was just so much fun. And when the exhilarating experience when you arrive at the rooftop of Africa and you're looking out over the clouds, and the clouds slowly pull apart, and it is just a moment in time. That photograph was taken when we were on our way up, and that's me there. I was we were just mesmerized by the location. Now, here's an itinerary we put together. Just a little suggested circuit itinerary to give you an idea of price. This is per person, $3,699. And of course, that's your food, your accommodation, and everything all included. It doesn't include the international flights, but when you arrive, you'll be picked up and transferred. This particular one goes into Arusha, and we're staying at the 4 Points by Sheraton, which is a lovely hotel. You go and check out the markets if you wish to do, if you want to kind of stretch their legs. Before we take off on day 2, we go to Lake Manyara. Now, the journey itself will take us through a number of little villages. You'll get a chance to see coffee plantations, the banana plantations, as we make ourselves to the Kilimanjaro Lodge and Lake Manyara, and this lovely lodge. That's a great spot. And once you've checked in here, you've got to go for a little swim. They've got a lovely horizon pool and views out over the lake itself. Now you'll have a little breakfast, and you'll have that chance to do a morning drive down to Lake Manyara. So you'll leave everything in your room, and off you go after a nice hearty breakfast. You'll head down to the lake. And the pink flamingos, all sorts of wildlife, those tree climbing lions. It's pretty impressive. You'll go through an actual rainforest, and you'll return for a nice lunch. Oh, very civilized, isn't it? A little cold towel to kind of wipe your brow when you first arrive back in. And after lunch, we can leave there, and we're heading for the Serengeti. We'll actually go through coffee plantations. We'll drive through the Ngorongoro Conservation Region, and we'll head into the vast plains of the Serengeti. So we're going to get the big drive out the way. So we'll actually get a chance to see wildlife en route, and you'll actually venture into the national park, and we're going to check into the Sopa Lodge. The Sopa Lodge is quite expansive. Plenty of room to socially distance, which is important. Your room's well appointed. Everything's cleaned down daily. And yes, you'll be off for a little early morning day drive on day 4, and also an afternoon game drive as well. Now, there's an optional experience of doing a hot air balloon flight. And I've got to just explain what happens here. Well, you'll wake up in the morning, it'll be dark, and you'll pull up in your vehicle to the spot where the balloons are taking off. And only light you'll see is a light from a gas flame that breathes life into this big balloon. The balloon floats off, and you'll be floating over all this wildlife, and it's just phenomenal to see it from above. And then when you do eventually land, you'll do a little picnic breakfast out there on the plains of the Serengeti. It is an amazing experience to include. From there, we'll depart and for the Ngorongoro Crater. But on that drive, we'll stop for a little picnic, and we're going to make our way to the Sopa Lodge. The Sopa Lodge itself, again, is located with great views. Once you've checked in here, that window view is out over the crater itself. So, yes, this is the world's largest natural wildlife arena, like a gladiator pit for wildlife. And you'll head out here for early breakfast before you depart, and you'll head down, descend to the floor, and you'll get a chance to explore the floor and see all this incredible wildlife. You've got the forest areas, the swamp areas, you've got these lakes and springs, and you'll open grasslands, and then you'll return to the lodge late in the afternoon. And you'll then depart Ngorongoro Crater for the Tanzania National Park. And again, along the journey, on this circuit you're taking, you'll stop in little villages en route. You'll go through highland regions. You'll through the Khartoum district, and you'll get to meet people, and you'll even see wildlife as you're making your way to your lodging. You'll arrive at the Tangier Sopa Lodge, a very open lodge with plenty of space to socially distance, lovely rooms and well appointed and great swimming areas. And you'll head out and you'll do a little journey out to see some of the wildlife. And then a hearty breakfast, you'll depart for Arusha. And in Arusha, you'll get a quick last tour of Arusha before you're transferred to the airport and you're flying to Zanzibar. And from day 4 to day 12, you get a chance to stay at this beautiful 4-night Karifu Beach Resort and Spa. So it's a chance to relax. Once you've checked into your room, you can enjoy the resort itself. You can explore Stone Town. You can go and visit Stone Town, go to the markets. You can go diving if you wish. There's an option to do that. Or maybe some deep sea fishing as well. And parasailing, or perhaps just even a jog along the beach. This is a chance to relax, to kind of write in your diary, to get your photographs right before you're transferred to Zanzibar Airport and you're off from there. So that's heading home. So at this point right now, I'd like to open it up to questions. If you've got any questions for me, on the right-hand side of your screen, just type them in there, and we'll answer those questions. In the picture, there was a baby animal in the middle. There was a buffalo. That was a Cape buffalo, Roseanne. So just so you know. Any questions, guys, for me with regards to this? Somebody here is asking a question about about groups, organising groups, that's exactly what we're here for. We will organise your group. We'll help you plot out an itinerary that's safe and secure. We'll make sure we've got the best guides, the best locations. We'll make sure that you're well looked after. And when you arrive, there's somebody at the airport meeting you. They'll have masks and gloves. They'll walk you through. You'll get whisked out of that airport quicker than a hot knife through butter. You'll be out on safari before you know it. You'll be away from everybody. If you're traveling with a small group of friends, remember, a group is 6 people. 6 people, my friends. So if you'd like to do that, you don't have to worry about, do I need to get numbers to get the group? No. A lot of these little departures we've got in place, you can take them over. All you need to do is get 3 couples. I mean, a group of travel advisors together could actually promote the idea of doing a particular, just so you get people who know each other, and that way you feel safer knowing other people. Are there any places that allow off-roading? Yes, there are. There are conservancies that we stay at. On the Serengeti, if you wish to stay in a private conservancy, you can drive right up to a private alliance. There are no roads. You basically go your own route. Now, they're very careful the way they manage that because they don't want to decimate the actual the native flora, but yes, they are. Michelle, we can organise that. What about inoculations? You must have missed the start. Basically, as far as inoculations are concerned, the only thing you really need, and I always tell people to go and see a travel doctor, but really, malaria is the only thing that you need to think about. If your clients are only going to Tanzania and going nowhere else, you don't need to have a yellow fever certificate. But if you're going to areas which have yellow fever, then they require that you have a certificate if you're going to be there before you go to Tanzania. As far as the COVID-19, you must get a COVID-19 test. Now, I did my test this morning. Before I started my webinars this morning, I went out and got tested. If you want to see what happened, I've put it on my Facebook page. I've put a video up on our Facebook page. We've got a page set up for travel agents only. So if you're interested in seeing that, I'll send you an email and I'll let you know where you can go and check that out. But you really need to get that test done 3 days prior to travel, 72 hours prior to travel. So when you arrive at the airport, you've got a certificate saying you've got a negative test. Now, we're putting together a database of places where you can go and get that test done. If you have had it done and you'd like to share that information with us, we're going to create a big database for travel advisors where you can come and you can get information on where to get tested. As far as the what else? What other question we've got here? As far as hospitals are concerned, there are hospitals. Basically, Dar es Salaam, there are hospitals there. So if somebody was to get sick, then they'll be taken there, and then basically, and they'll be looked after from that point forward. Yes, I'll follow up after. There's a few people here organising. What do you recommend for mobility challenged clients? Well, what we do there is, and this person uses a walker, so thanks, Carol, that's a good question. Safaris, we will do safaris for everybody. So if people can't walk, we can organise a safari for them. That's a beautiful thing about safaris, is it's all customised. And as long as we can get them up into the vehicle, once you're on board that vehicle, the vehicle is your legs. And you've got a window spot, you're sitting up the front, you're close to the driver. It's an amazing experience. What I love about the safari is the safari gives something to everybody. Now, there's a lot of people out there right now, families that have been drawn apart because of the coronavirus, because of the pandemic. And a safari is a great thing to do. I mean, kids, elderly people, a multi-generational trip. A safari is one of the best things you can do together because you all witness and experience things exactly the same. I mean, you've never been on the safari. Kids' eyes are like sauruses. Well, let me tell you, so are mine. I mean, it's just so much fun. So, yeah, we can help you out with that. Guys, I'm going to follow up with questions. I want to quickly just follow up with a couple of things I want to talk to you about. Tomorrow I've got another webinar I'm doing on New Zealand. I'm doing the South Island, New Zealand. This is my part 2 of a 2-part series. So tomorrow, Friday, August the 7th, I'll be taking you to New Zealand to see the South Island in Queenstown. I'm also going to be talking tomorrow at 3 p.m. on Facebook and also on Zoom. I'll be doing a live from Tahiti presentation. The reason why I'm doing this is because I'm going to Tahiti on Sunday, and that's why I got tested today. I've got my corona tests were done today. I expect my results back this afternoon. And tomorrow I'm going to tell you all about the results. I'm going to tell you all about the test. I've actually already taken video of the test. They stick this cotton ball up your nose that makes your eyes water, but it's better than getting an injection, I can tell you right now. And so I'm going to run through, I'm going to do a little checklist. I'm going to show you what you take to Tahiti. And then when I'm in Tahiti, I'm going to be doing live from Moorea and live from Bora Bora, because Tahiti is available right now to send your clients. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to do some webinars on Moorea and on Bora Bora. If you're excited about the idea of being a traveler, if you want to get back to being a travel advisor and selling travel again, you need to know about Tahiti. So I hope you can join me tomorrow. I mean, already we've got Tanzania to sell now, Tahiti to sell, Vietnam, they're talking about opening up in October. So John will be doing next week on August the 13th, he'll be doing a presentation on Vietnam, the timeless charm from Ho Chi Minh to Hanoi. And then I'm going to take you to Sydney. I'm going to take you to Sydney. Sydney's the gateway to New South Wales. It's the gateway to Australia. I mean, 80% of all the flights go through Sydney. You need to know about it. It'll be fun. We'll have some fun doing that. So, guys, I hope you're enjoying these virtual vacations. So thank you very much for joining us. I wish you all the very best in your efforts to promote. And for those clients out there that are traveling now, talk to your travel advisor. They are the key to bringing it all together. They've got all the answers to your questions. Let me tell you, you go to see a travel advisor, they'll look after you. Here's cheers, guys. Wish you all the very best. Bye for now.